Alright guys, today, as you can probably guess there, we're going over the Mosin Nagant, or Mosin if you will, Nagant M44 rifle. Probably not the kind of thing you're used to seeing here on the channel, but they are excellent values. I guess we'll get more into that in the review, but excellent values. You get a lot of gun for the money. And I know a lot of you guys out there are survivalists, things like that, and I think this gun might appeal to a lot of people out there in my audience. Anyway, we'll get into it more here next. We're going to start out and just go over some of the features of the gun. We're going to start up here at the muzzle end and work our way down to the stock. The front sight is just an encased post, and it is drift adjustable for windage. The bayonet is a side folding mechanism, and to activate it you just go ahead and pull down, pull out, it will swing around and pull out again, attach it over the muzzle, and you'll see there it is a cruciform type of bayonet. The rifle does feature an attachment point for a sling up front, as well as these springs here that are going to retain the upper handguard on the rifle. The rear sight is graduated for 1,000 meters. To go ahead and move it out to that distance, you just go ahead and push in on both tabs, move it out, and then if you want to return to your battle zero, you do the exact opposite and pull it straight back. These rifles were produced in many different countries, and your country of origin is going to determine a lot of what kind of markings you're going to actually see on your receiver. Generally, all of them are going to have arsenal marking of some sort. This one here is Russian, so it's going to have the little triangle and arrow, as well as a date stamp. This one here is 1945. Kind of unlikely that this one saw service, but those two things will remain consistent whether or not they're say like Type 53 or WZ44 or any of the other variants that are out there. Loading the gun's fairly simple. You just go ahead, pull up on the bolt, pull it to the rear, take your rounds, go ahead and put them in. In my experience, it's easier to do with 2 fingers just to balance it. If not, they do sometimes get bound up. Go ahead and push them in all the way up to 5 because it is a 5-round magazine, and push them in. I'm only doing 4 now. Push it forward, lock your bolt down, and now your weapon is ready to fire. To go ahead and put it on safe, you just pull back here on the rear of the bolt and put it at a 45-degree angle. That makes your gun safe. And to go ahead and fire, you just pull back on the knob and release, and now you're ready to fire. If your gun's loaded up and you don't want to go ahead and chamber and eject all those rounds, one thing you can do is just flip the gun over here. On the bottom you see this little tab. Go ahead and pull it out, and your rounds will come straight out the bottom. The buttstock does have the sling mount built into it. And when you guys pick these rifles up, if you're picking up a surplus rifle, they're likely going to be loaded with Cosmoline, so make sure you get all that out there before you stick your sling in there, or you'll be sorry you didn't. The rear of the stock does feature a metal butt plate for increased durability. Not sure how well it comes across on camera, but that muzzle flash is something fierce right there. Just a quick brief history of the rifle and where it came from and why it was developed. Basically, obviously you can see by the entire action, it is at its heart still a 9130 that's kind of cut down. In 1938, the Russians adopted the M38 for field artillery, armor troops, things like that, something that was a little bit more maneuverable, and cut the overall length down from 48 inches to about 40 inches. So you lost about 8 inches in length, but you didn't really lose any weight. This rifle does still weigh in at 8.7 pounds, so it's relatively heavy. But the problem with the M38, and the reason that they created the M44, was it didn't have a bayonet. Back in those days, a bayonet was a real concern. Not so much today, but back then they all wanted a bayonet because people were literally getting killed in war with bayonets relatively frequently during World War II. Like I said though, they adopted it in 1944. That said, there are some 1943 dated rifles out there. If you find one of those, they tend to be a little bit more collectible than the 44 and 45s, which were produced later, and very few of them actually saw action in the war. Some did, obviously, but not all. So a lot of the 1944 and 1945 are in excellent condition, which the rifles you guys see here today are. One of the big advantages of the rifle is the rounds that it fires. It fires the 7.62x54R rounds, R for rimmed, as you can see there on the cartridge. These rounds are excellent rounds. They're pretty accurate. They are corrosive, however, but they're available on the surplus market for anywhere between 18 to say 20 cents a round, and they put out a lot of power. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with the Block rounds, these are relatively similar in terms of ballistics data to the 30-06 round. So there's some recoil there, but it's excellent performance, and you can really take down just about anything you'll find in North America. Oftentimes when you see the price of a firearm, it's a good indicator of the quality of it. Well, that's just not so with this rifle. The rifles, the reason they're so cheap is that they're just so readily available. There was almost 20 million of these rifles made, but they're excellent quality rifles. The Russians and for that matter the Polish that made these, as well as the Chinese, made excellent rifles. These rifles are no exception. They have big, smooth action. They're relatively accurate. With that Bulgarian ammo you saw earlier, I've been able to get 4-inch groups at 100 meters. And for a surplus rifle, in my opinion, that's doing pretty good. I mean, they're just good guns all around. They have a great history. And at the price they're selling for in today's market, I just don't know that they can be beat. There's a million uses for them, from hunting to home defense if you really need to, or really just general plinking because the ammo is relatively affordable. But all in all, good rifles, guys. If you guys have any questions about this rifle or any other product I review here on the channel, feel free to leave the comments here. You can also leave them over at my Facebook page. But thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video.